Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the overview. Today we're reviewing Cash Cleaner Simulator. I've been absolutely hoovering this game up. I'm in love with it. I did do a brief overview short form video talking about this, but since then I've put 20 hours in all said and run the credits. Though this game is one of those stay on the treadmill, you know, the journey's more important than the destination, so clocking it's kind of almost inconsequential. It's just about the moment to moment sorting money. But suffice to say, I very much enjoyed this, and we'll take a bit more time to explain the actual core loop, what you do, and why I think this is kind of magic as well. Now, I do an unconventional score system, and I've been doing some videos, getting some back and forth feedback from you guys in the audience. The score will be on the thumbnail and it will dynamically change. At the moment of me talking to you right now, I don't know what the score is going to be. What I'm going to do today is backload my scoring system. This is twofold because there are people that don't give a crap about it, and that's fine, that's cool. So we'll put this out of the way and you can just listen to the substance of my video through how I describe it. But if you're curious about how I seed and rank games against one another, well, you know, I'll essentially do that in real time. So for those curious, they can stick around and get an idea, and maybe they can understand the unconventional ranking system a bit better. But yeah, this game is really good. It is an exception to the rule being anything with the word simulator in it is usually dog shit. Like, this is a 1%. Crime Scene Cleaner from last year, I mean, I guess it doesn't have simulator, but it's in the same pantheon, right? You look at that and you think simulator game. That was also an exception last year. That was one of my favorite games that I played. I reviewed that. I really enjoyed it. You should check it out if you find this interesting. And look, just while I'm pulling on that thread, here's my speculation about simulator games, because uniquely, and part of why I kind of want to do more reviews and less sifting through shovelware. Don't get me wrong, I like finding the diamonds in the rough, but every year in Steam, there's no filter, man. There's more rough. A man can only sift through so many paint wall watching simulator games before he goes insane, but often I think it's all very calculated, right? A dev identifies some mundane task in life that is not already on the Steam store. That's good enough to go on the whiteboard. They will try and simulate the moving parts of it one-to-one. So, your wall painting simulator, we get the paint roller, you know, you got to prep the wall or whatever. They never really stop to wonder if it's going to be fun as a game. And I think it's sort of a roll of the dice whether at the end of the journey, when they've simulated all the components of the real life thing, maybe it's a good game. That's how it feels after covering thousands of simulator games. Anyway, not the case here. This is very considered. In fact, it's quite striking. Maybe we'll backload this a little bit more, but it almost makes me realize that there's another subgenre within the meticulous, engineering-minded type landscape, which is dominated by things that use automation and logistics chains and that sort of stuff. Anyway, look, we'll come back to that, but I feel like this is a different thing altogether. It's more about being meticulous and methodical. But let's start at the beginning. The setup is thin. It's good enough, and I've talked about investment before. Like, if a gameplay loop invests me enough, I can potentially start paying attention and giving a crap about a thin story. And that's what's going on here, right? You're amnesiac, you wake up in a sort of neon prison. It's difficult to describe. Aspects of it make me think of all things like Squid Game and all that, but more from the idea of a mysterious organization locking you up and you being a bit confused. But you very quickly realize that you're in this gilded cage. You've got, very little. Honestly, I don't think I have a lot of early footage because I wasn't necessarily going to review this, but still, you don't start with much. And the game gives you a smartphone, and through that you get job offers. You accept the job will then drop money from a chute, and your job is to sort and sift that money and put it on an outgoing conveyor belt as per the requirements of the job. It's all a bit contrived, but who cares, right? The wrinkle is that when they give you money, it's not going to be an exact amount, right? So if the job is saying, give me $1,000 in cash in a cardboard box. They'll give you a bag of mixed up bills. It's on you to pull them out and count them, probably by hand in the beginning. Count out 1,000, put it in a box, roll it back out. You'll have sundry. You will have some stuff left over, and you put that in your mattress, basically. But that's when it begins. Now you need a system. Okay, cool. I'm going to sift through all the single bills. Okay, what am I going to do with this? Maybe I just throw this pile in the corner. This is the extra money. I don't know, whatever. Then you're going to get more jobs, and there's an in-game sort of app store where you can order some, aesthetic crap, mattresses and chairs to sit in and colourful lamps, who cares, crap like that. A cash gun that can shoot cash around, because why not? So there's something that'll last you about 5 seconds before you throw it in the corner and never think about it. But you have the more practical stuff, and there'll be things like money counters. I think the first one you get is actually a reward for a mission, and they will have sorting systems, very rudimentary at the beginning, but things like the ability to sort out X currency. So maybe you tell it to count $100 bills and count up to a 100-piece stack. So at that point, you'll start just jamming handfuls and clumps of money into that machine. It'll spit anything out that doesn't meet that prerequisite. And then when that finishes, you grab it, and then you grab like a rubber band thing for the stack that you've got. This is, again, where the meticulous nature starts to come out, and the game is very show don't tell. You start to realize that you have to come up with your own system, your own insanity of your layout of your base, where things are going to go, how things are going to be counted. Because if you count out all $100 bills into one stack and put a rubber band on it, the rubber band is gold or yellow or whatever, but it's color coded. If it's a mixed thing, if you have 10s and 20s and all that mixed in, it's just generic white. But as soon as you actually start sorting, he will rubber band it to color. Now, you don't know the number, and generally speaking, outside of extreme exception, but hey, it's your system, you come up with it. I have found there's no real reason not to stack 100, because 100 is the max stack. So here you go, you have $100 bills, you've got your $10,000 stack, color-coded wrapping, and now you can fit that sort of stack. It's essentially the equivalent size of a single bill now, as far as the game's concerned, and you can start stacking it in bags or boxes or tables, or you can pick a whole bunch of them up. I think if you pick up, I don't know how many it'd be 4 across and 5 deep, 20, maybe 40, something like that, but you can pick up a whole block of banded cash and wrap them in plastic to make an even bigger block, right? But here in the sorting begins, the systems begin, and down the rabbit hole one goes. So that's the core loop, and you can already perhaps understand and divine the attraction. And it will get to a point where you get more robust sorting systems that can sort sequentially different amounts of money, like the really big, robust, extra large one that I'm leaning on can do 3 at once, and it can do different currencies because they introduce euro and yen later on as well. But yeah, you'll find your own way, you'll find your own system. Then other mechanics will get introduced, such as dirty bills or wet bills. You can have ink bombs go off in cases. If you're smart enough to see it coming because it's something coming out of a Federal Reserve, you can use like a knife to interact with the side of them to get them out the side to circumvent the ink bomb. However, I think you get less cash from that. I didn't get a chance to check it because ink bombs are kind of rare, but when I've intentionally opened them up, I'm pretty sure I got like 2 or 3 scoops of cash out, as opposed to when I cut the side, I only got 1 scoop. So I'm not sure if anyone knows anything about that, but that's sort of the nature of the beast. And then dealing with all of these things have their own systems. You can wash things in a tumble washer and then put it drying through a drying machine. If you throw wet bills on a stack of dry bills, you will wet everything else. Same as dirty, you'll cross-contaminate, so you have to come up with these imaginary borders in your mind's eye that no one else will probably see, but this workplace is for this over here, and that's for over there, and you have to keep enough space so that you don't accidentally have errant bills contaminate each other. And I ended up with pallets and pallets of cash, and like, you'll look at it in the B-roll and go, this looks fucking insane, but to me, I'm like, that one on the left is pure yen. That one in the middle is mixed yen and euro, because I've already filtered the US dollars out and gone through that and created that palette of money. This one on the end is, I can't remember, something like that. But that's the point. You come up with method. You come up with system. Things have to be multiple sorted. Like, how are you going to sort the €100 bloody notes out of something that's dirty, wet, ink-ridden, and mixed in with 3 types of currencies, and each of them have 3 or 4 sub-numbered currencies as well? You have to come up with a system. And it's satisfying. So look, that should give you an idea of the moment-to-moment loop. To me, what I hinted at earlier is it taps a different part of your brain. I refer to the engineer's brain. I don't know what else to call it, but the one that I have, where I'm not really interested in drawing art for people to admire. I think that's a fucking waste of time. I also recognize like half of our society think that's legitimate, so I stay away from it. But generally speaking, I solve problems. I like puzzles. I hate riddles, that sort of thing. And when it comes to video games, the gamification of these sort of games, you know, the leaders in that space are things like Factorio, Dyson Sphere, that sort of stuff. Generally speaking, what makes them successful, what proves to be a thumbs up pass as far as a solid gameplay loop goes, is automation, logistics, and the solving of the problem. If you do think about it, I'm not trying to break Factorio down into its most derivative parts, but you're trying to solve it. You're trying to come up with solutions to the problem, then the game runs itself. And then you could kind of call it a day, putting yourself out of a job in a way. This game has no automation, very little. You might be able to jank some stuff around. Like, I got to a point where I could put some sports bags to auto catch some things. In the end, my best method was using like a pallet to catch things as they got spewed out of a counter. But I had to turn my graphics right down because I don't look on. As a quick aside, I dislike upscaling and all that in general, but the upscaling was doing mad work on this game. I put it on ultra performance and all that, and some of it would look a bit funny, but it made it actually run reasonable in the end, because as soon as I started catching individual bills that are spewing out like 1 billion bills a second, and then in real time it's counting them into the pallet, it's very impressive to watch happen, but your computer starts going, nah, fuck that, I'm not doing that. So I had to tweak the settings to make it work. But I don't know how they're doing it. Each individual bill is not really distinct. It's not like they have numbers or anything like that, but you still get the different currencies. The individual item is clearly an asset in the world in some way. I feel like they might have these layered sheets to make things like pallets and that work, but again, it's all speculation. Each individual thing is counted and represented somewhere. And, you know, you get dirty, muddy ones. You get ones marked under UV light with multiple organizations, you know, police marked bills you can only see under blue light. Like, all of that shit's being recorded there somewhere. It's wild. But yeah, your computer will scream. But it's a very impressive technical feat. Anyway, I don't want to lose my point. My point was that this taps a certain part of that hungry engineering mind, but not with a view to automate yourself out of a job, but more about busy work that requires a kind of intense concentration. Like, think about it, if you're counting out money non-stop and you're trying to get through something like in real life, you need to focus. And there's a whole other conversation that could be had about that. The fact that people, even me, I'm an old boy, but this shit's infectious, where I find myself, if I'm watching a movie or something at home, I'll start tabbing out to another window, or I'll start fiddling with my phone. And the younger generation are infinitely worse as well, and maybe that's just the way things are going. I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but attention spans and focus and things like that, it's a different world than it was 10 years ago. And there is just something incredibly cathartic about how this game makes you lock in, and you'll check the clock by accident and realize that hours have gone by because you have been so, lips out, tongue out, focused, zeroed in on counting this, that, or the other for this order, and keeping A separated from B, separated from C, and just the whole experience is kinda zen in a incredibly focused, arresting kind of way. Anyway, look, I don't need to waffle, but I did want to impress that what you see might not necessarily convey what I felt playing this game. I did mention as well story and narrative. There's a sort of intrigue. There's customers sending through your phone. Some of them are just, meme humor stuff. Like there's a dude that he's doing performance art and something like that, so he wants you to do weird stuff with how you deliver the money. Right, whatever, okay. It's obviously a back to front, reverse engineered method to come up with interesting quests. It doesn't really land that well. And there's an intrigue on your amnesia, like maybe you're a secret agent, or maybe you work for this guy or this dude's friend. There's all these different guys pulling you in different directions, trying to confuse and befuddle you and create intrigue. And like I said at the beginning, because I got so invested in the gameplay, I gave it its time of day. I read the things and stayed up to date, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was ever super invested or really gave a shit. Big finale has you choose one or the other, and I don't know. I think I just did the one that automatically popped up as my next tracked quest. So yeah, it's weak. It's there. It's not bad, right? But it's definitely not what carries this game. Okay, seeding. Like I said, we're still experimenting and fuddling our way through it. I'll record some screen cap here and, I don't know, chop it up, whatever, and put it in here. It's just the playlist that holds all these review videos, which, there should be links around. You should be able to find it fairly easily so you can watch them yourself. But this is how I seed games now. Here are all the games that we've reviewed to date. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I've only done 18. I want to do 25 a quarter and we're already into the second quarter. Anyway, Scarlett, don't get distracted. So this is how we're going to do it. It's going to be a half and half and half again until the game finds its sitting. This is how I've done all these games so far. And when it is complete and we have 100 games at a time, that's when it would, you start in the middle, 50, and then, halve it maybe to 75 or 25. Anyway, it will make sense. Hopefully this visual aid makes it a bit more sensible. So at the moment, we have 18 games. We're going to start seeding at the midpoint, which is at 9. So what's 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So 9 from the top, 9 from the bottom. So it's these two games here, which are Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, and Synduality, Echoes of Ada. Now, I like both of these games. Where does this game fit? Cash Cleaner. I think Cash Cleaner is above Yakuza, okay? So then we're going to seed half again. So remember, it was the top 9 down to Yakuza, so we're going to go down to what would be the middle of that, 5? Yeah, 4 up, 4 down, 5 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tales of Iron, Whiskers of Winter. Oh my god, what a game. Probably one of the first games we reviewed this year, and I loved it. And as much as I like Cash Cleaner Simulator, it does not hold a candle to Tales of Iron 2. And so this goes below. So what's the between split between that and Yakuza? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that'll be 2 down to 3. 1, 2, 3. Foundation, an absolute another banger of a game. And I really want to go back and play more of that. And again, as much as I like Cash Cleaner Simulator, it sits below Foundation. So do you see where this is going? This is all very much me being left hand, right hand. You go, hey Scarlett, this game versus that game, plant your flag, tell me which one you recommend. That's the whole point of this review structure. This is the whole method. Anyway, it sits below Foundation easily. We're getting down into the middle 3 here. Marvel's Spider-Man 2, a controversial take, but played in its entirety. I had a really great time with that. It was good fun. However, I would say Cash Cleaner sits above that for sure. Just something about it, man. And it's not exactly smacked with controversy or anything. And so this is where the score will sit, and this is what will likely reflect the thumbnail at this time, between 94 and 93. So it'll be 93%, and it will push all of these down and displace them by 1%. So there you go, Cash Cleaner Simulator I review as a 93% game. Hopefully this makes a bit more sense. And the end product is that we'll have 100 games, and as we bring a new game in, we'll retire out an old one, and every given time, it will be 100 most recently reviewed games, and they'll all be ranked against their contemporaries, so you can get an idea. So a game at the bottom, 20% or whatever, isn't necessarily bad. It's just that 80 other games that I reviewed in that past 12 months, I think were better. So this might result in some broken hearts. People probably don't like it when I give their favourite game of the year 39%. But again, I would also argue, what's the point of the review scale? Is it to pander to you and make you feel better about your favourite game and give you a warm and fuzzy? Or is it to give you an actual, systematic, laid out system that at a glance would go, which game would Scarlett recommend to me in sequential order? Because that's what this is. And that makes it fit for purpose. And again, we'll wrap up here, but that's what my previous video about review scores was sort of getting at. If every game gets a 7 out of 10, that doesn't help you at all, other than give you some sort of bullshit reinforcement bias about what you feel about a game. Some people won't admit it, but that's exactly what they want. Good for them, they've got the legacy system. But if you actually want a fair ranking system that's dispassionate, and you can reconcile that just because something gets 45 out of 100, that doesn't mean it's bad, not at all, then my system might be for you. Anyway team, let's wrap it up there. Thanks for sticking around, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.